Overbrook Episode 20 The Coming End. Content warning. Mentions of child abuse, transphobia, and conversion therapy.
Has anyone seen that shithead Dr. White? No? For fuck's sake, why do I keep you all around? He has to be here somewhere. Thought that freak had to be hiding somewhere in the building, but nothing. No bones, no decaying flesh, not even a goddamn tooth. Just my luck. Ingfell, help me move the desk. Thanks. What's this? Of course this bastard had files on all of this. Alright. Where the hell is mine? I know it's gotta have it in here somewhere. It's probably under my dead name. Ah! Found it. Now let's see what the fuck he was scribbling about. Ugh. Patient seems to be surrounded by alternative influences causing further emotional confusion. Typical conversion therapy bullshit. Unwilling to accept they will not be perceived as a man by larger society, or that transition is not the only way forward. Joke's on you, I've never been sexier. Why is there a billing page for damn... Oh! Yes! When I started throwing things at his head, and cat missing, then I started throwing things in general, just wherever. I think at some point I threw a chair. The damage just repaired itself, so there was no point, but at least it shut him up for a bit. Does anyone have my lighter? He might have file copies, but I'm not letting him keep the originals. That's much better. All right, everyone. Take 5. Remember to hydrate. Oh, fuck off. Dr. White is not worth a vision. He's not even worth a sneeze. The only thing he is worth is being traumatized right back. Hopefully he'll remember that every time he sees his TNT-sponsored remodeling. But probably not. That asshat always disappeared right after a session concluded. If Vincent had held out for even 5 more minutes, I could have... Whatever. Again, he's not worth a vision. Who said that? Athen? For the record, no. I did not say Vincent because we're cool now. Vincent and I will never be cool. I simply didn't want to hold her being stuck in that explosion on my conscience. Oh my god, alright, everyone gather around. Clearly you all need a reminder of what this town was built on. Why the lighthouse and the journalist are important. Let me tell you about Earl Durin and the strike of 1832. Earl Durin of New Jersey was the kind of man who had always known the feeling of dirt beneath his fingernails. Working to help his father to ease the load of his siblings' chores, to put food on the table for his wife and 4 kids, though he narrowly avoided unsafe factory work by choosing to go into mining instead, it was hardly much better. The dangers uniquely known to the early 1800s remained ever present. When typhus started making its way through his little community, his wife could hardly stand it anymore. The whole Durin clan was uprooted, moved to a small corner of upstate New York in a hurry, a little town called Overbrook. Work, of course, was still difficult, maybe even more so than it was in New Jersey. The colder climate was harsh, people often complained of unreasonable hours, and worst of all, the growing season had not treated them kindly. And the foreman, even less so. The only places to find food were the company stores to be purchased with company scrip, and due to high demand of food, well, inflation took its toll. But that's not what started the strike of 1832, no. What started it was something they found deep in the mines. On a particular frigid Tuesday morning in December 1831, Earl Durin went to work. The dark shaft illuminated only by candles and small lamps perched on crevices. The air was thick with the stench of sweat-laden earth. Inch by inch, they dug out coal, humming along to the little canary that sat steadfastly at their side, bound to its cage. Earl's shoulders ached with each strike of the pickaxe against unforgiving stone, but he ignored it, only thinking of how much today's work would be worth in bread. In fact, he was so engrossed in his own thoughts that he didn't realize the canary had stopped singing, not until another miner pointed it out. It was alive, somehow, still breathing, but staring directly at him with inky, vacant eyes. He did not allow himself to shudder. Instead, he brushed it off, thinking nothing of it. Reaching out to the wall in front of him, brushing away some other patch of dirt to get a bit of coal, he realized it felt startlingly warm. And it moved. Slow but sure, like a sleeping giant was hidden beneath the stone. For a second time, he brushed it off. Maybe he was just so delirious from hunger that he kept imagining things, you know. Hysteria was not an option in this line of work. Not for Earl. So he kept mining and striking and brushing. He'd feel the heat emanating from the stone wall and force himself to ignore it, all too aware of the little bird's grating gaze. Its attention felt like pinpricks on the back of his neck, methodically needling him. On the next strike, something reverberated out to him. Something deep in his bones. He stumbled back and fell, his friend barely catching him, but he couldn't look away from the wall. He was almost certain something called out to him. Not by name or with words, just in the same way that it does when you're alone, but don't feel quite alone. There was something there, calling his attention. That was when they noticed the canary had died, fallen straight off its perch. The miners cleared out, declaring it unsafe, but whatever that little vibration still found itself embedded into his skin. At night, when he laid in bed, he felt it bouncing across his skull like an electrical current, constant and desperate. That night, Earl hardly slept. The next day, in a different mine shaft, he felt himself being called in another particular direction. There was nothing but dirt and stone, and the others were annoyed as he ignored all the coal around them, but nevertheless, he whittled away, feeling an itch to be scratched. 3 months go by, and he gets the same vibration, only stronger. It sings to him. Once again, the canary drops dead. They're not sure what did it this time, but rumors start circulating that its heart stopped from fright. That night, Earl starts to dream. He dreams of crimson sky, a constant rolling heat over the town. The buildings are nicer. The people are stranger. He sees a little black girl writing in a small notebook, documenting, watching. His heart hurts for her. She never seems to be living. She is always just surviving. And he sees her friend. Another young white boy, a little naive, but a whole lot of energy. He reminds Earl of his son, until he looks in the boy's eyes. When he wakes up, forget the dirt underneath his fingernails. He wants to remove the nails completely. His wife has to bandage his hands when he succeeds in mauling 3 of them. He misses work that day. Little does Earl know, the dreams do not end just because he does not go to work. The vibrations move from his skull to his lungs so that every time he takes a breath, every time he speaks, he sees that same little boy's eyes and how they flashed with a sea of maggots and death. Of course, he returns to work the next day. What else can he do? A married man with 4 kids and very little food, he cannot avoid it. But he knows that there is something in the mind, something that is leaking with impatience, something that cannot be unearthed. For the next month until about mid-May, he continues to dream. But not just about that little black girl or the little white boy with death in his eyes. He dreams about himself. He dreams about never moving to Overbrook. He dreams about becoming a carpenter or a factory worker. He dreams about moving to Overbrook and immediately plunging a knife into his boss's chest. He dreams about becoming a woman. He dreams about being a woman who becomes a man. He dreams about himself so much in one night that when he wakes up, he forgets which version of himself he is. Over time, he is fractured by these visions, speaking in languages he never learned, becoming literate when he never was, knowing things about people who have never existed. And it's not just him either. At some point, his friends and co-workers get those same vibrations. Maybe not the dreams and visions, but they are fearful every time they return to work, each time with a canary and a prayer. What chills him most, however, and most people wouldn't know this unless they were either alive in the 1800s or just have very specific knowledge of American mining history, but canaries weren't introduced into mines until the late 1890s. So how exactly did Earl and his friends think to bring a canary into the mines nearly 60 years earlier? When he lived in New Jersey, he realized he had never heard of bringing a bird into the mines. So why was this normal for Overbrook? This question haunts him almost as much as the dreams. Did you know when a person dies, their hair and nails don't actually keep growing? That's just a myth. It's just that when their skin loses its moisture, it begins to shrink, giving the appearance of growth. And similarly, when a body decays, it may release gases created due to decomposition, but that doesn't mean it farts. There is a thing beneath Overbrook, and Earl believed it sang to him in vibrations and dreams. Except it's not actually alive. It's decaying, rotting away beneath the dirt, and we are all living on its corpse, breathing in its gases, being affected by its decomposition, some affected more than others, of course. Its reach does not end with us, though. It affects time and reality itself. How else can a mining safety practice find its way back 60 years earlier than it was thought of? How else can so many Overbrooks and only Overbrooks exist? So many versions of us across different times and realities. Overbrook wasn't always like this. It wasn't always crawling with faceless maggots, residents. We didn't always have bottomless potholes in a crimson sky or shithead therapists that disappear after every session. For obvious reasons, our Overbrook was strikingly different from Earl's Overbrook. After all, it was the early 1800s. Now we were in the early 21st century. Just like a rotting body, the changes only become more and more grotesque. The deeper into the mine Earl and his co-workers and friends went, the more this cosmic pus continued to ooze out, continued to infect the town. He noticed it when his youngest daughter suddenly blinked from one end of the room to another. His wife went into a fugue state while sewing and stitched 8 inches of thread into her arm. His bosses became irritable, unreasonable, demanded the workers be in the mines around the clock, pushing deeper and deeper, regardless of whether there was coal to be found. The workers were understandably fearful at first, but then that fear turned to anger, and they began to strike. Unfortunately, by then it was too late. Enough of the mines were opened up, and Overbrook continued to fester in the open wound of this hidden creature. And then, they all disappeared. What happens when an eldritch god dies? Assuming it is God, of course. Is it a whale fall of otherworldly proportions? A whale fall is supposed to provide a bounty of nutrients for deep water creatures, but I'm hard-pressed to believe that all we've suffered is meant to be good for us. I mean, what am I, a Catholic? I only went to Mass twice, and both times they were against my will, alright? Don't interrupt. Depending on the environment, humans can take anywhere from a few weeks to a full years to fully decompose. Whatever's decaying in the mines inevitably takes longer. But with that, there's a silver lining. Because like Earl Durin wrote in his journal, our crimson sky will end when the lighthouse of the dying appears. And now we have our lighthouse. Decomposition is nearing its end. The bones will soon be picked clean. The journalist? Well, when someone dies, it's always important to write an obituary. And who better than our dear Vincent? Damn it. Someone's calling. Hold on. Okay, everyone give me a second. Hold on. Hello?
Hey, I need a favor.
You need a favor. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you threaten to punch me in the face not too long ago?
But did I? Let's be real, you had it coming.
I'm hanging up.
Wait. Okay. Alright. I'm willing to call a truce if you can help me out with something.
How do you even have my number?
It was in Wynn's phone. I copied it over into my new cell phone. I thought you knew everything, Mr. All-Seeing Prophet.
I don't know everything. I just see whatever happens in Overbrook, and only when I'm actually paying attention.
So you're a shitty prophet.
Did you need a favor or not?
Sorry, right, okay. Do you think Vincent can crash on your couch for a bit?
Excuse me, who?
Vincent and Wynn aren't on speaking terms, and I haven't gotten space at my parents' place. It's you or bust.
Then fucking bust.
Locke, I wouldn't be asking you this if I had any other option.
Clearly. And why does Vincent need to stay at my place, pray tell?
So her house disappeared?
Her house what?
It's just gone. I don't really get what's going on, and we were just getting coffee, and
Vincent got disowned. How the hell did she manage to get disowned?
Is that really how being disowned works here?
Not always, but it happened to me too, so... Fuck, fine. Vincent can stay at my place until she gets her shit sorted. But no longer than a week. I'll text you the address.
You are my savior.
Savior? That's the first time anyone's called me their savior. Alright, well, we can't find Dr. Shithead's remains, so let's just call it here. I think that's enough. Story time. You guys head back to the club room. I've, got some important business to attend to. I'll see you all on Monday.
This episode was written by me, Rhys Tirado. Voice of Locke was Ford Blue. Voice of Elektra was Serina Johnston. If you'd like to support the show, please join our Patreon, which will be linked in the show notes.